This is Goshen, a small town and village in Orange County, New York. Goshen has public buildings, parks, monuments, a village green, shops and restaurants, and the Hall of Fame of trotting horses. It's an old village, predating the American Revolution. Alexander Hamilton argued law here. The Goshen Public Library and Historical Society has a letter written by Hamilton requesting payment for his legal services. It also has the original document signed by 5 Indian chiefs ceding land to the British Crown. But what was the economic engine that enabled Goshen to prosper and grow? Simply stated, it was hundreds of subsistence farms, and those farms after 1840 were primarily dairy farms. Once the trains ran fresh milk to New York City, making milk was the way to make money. Dairy farms replaced the subsistence farms in Goshen. But over the last half century, dairy farms have been disappearing too. Today there are only 2 dairy farms left. Fort Hill Farm goes back a number of generations in history, but it was in the 1950s, after Alice White married Bill Johnson, that it was also known to many as Johnson's Farm. This is a part of their story as told by Bill Johnson, 85 years of age.
Farming, it's a tough deal. It's 7 days a week with cows, and you're on 24 hours. My son, he has a fellow milks in the morning and one at night, and of course has a modern parlor and everything to work with. But he gets calls at 1 o'clock in the morning when they got problems, so he's on call 24 hours a day. I bought a 70-acre farm down on 17A. There was a blind fellow owned that. Him and his sister farmed it, and I did their field work for custom work to make money, actually. And I had always told him, when you get ready to sell, why I would be interested in buying it. And it's kind of comical. He said that he was blind, but that was back when real estate was, there was all kinds of deals being made, and he said, I know what's happening, and he said, I know a lot of it's coming back, the real estate. They aren't able to make what it is today. They're losing it. And he said, I want to be paid for this. So he said, I'm going to sell it to you. And he said, I want it set up in 10 payments. He said, I figure I got 10 years to live. And he said, I want 10 payments. And he said, I know you'll make the payments come hell or high water. And so we did it on a handshake. And he sold it. His sister got put in a nursing home, and my wife took him over meals, helped him, but he knew he couldn't keep on that. So we helped him with he had an auction sale with the household stuff. And there was a cow dealer from Goshen who was at the sale, and we had Charlie Garrison, the auctioneer, and I knew Charlie very well, very honest. And this cow dealer kept saying he had bought the farm, and I never said anything all during the day. And Charlie said, gee, that crook got a hold of this farm and whatever. And I said, I never said anything. At the end of the day, I said, well, don't worry, Charlie, he didn't get it. But we were a little nervous about it. We did it on a handshake. There was never any till we got it settled. But he was a man of his word. We shook hands on it, and that was it.
So you were his retirement plan, 10 years.
And we made it, and he only lived shortly after the last payment. But he worked, he knew how many steps from the house to the barn, and he milked, and his sister and helped, and then he had a niece living with him, and they helped him. But he would pick up baled hay in the field, and he knew where the edge of the wagon was, and he could reach down and get a bale of hay and put it on the wagon.
Where did it cost to go to a movie when you were a kid?
Well, I think, as I remember, I used to occasionally took the train from Chester to Goshen, maybe, I don't know, and we had a quarter that gave us the train ride, and and an ice cream cone, and went to the movies. When I graduated from 8th grade, we had a lady I used to do jobs for, and she wrote a letter congratulating me and gave me a quarter. My kids have a grand time laughing about that, but at that time a quarter was quite a lot of money.
Yeah. So the train was a real going concern in those days to get around.
Oh yes, railroads were a big thing. My father, we brought our feed in by railroad. He used to buy feed. We had a large dairy. We bought feed by the carload and then trucked it from Chester down home. We used to buy hay when we needed it it came in by the carload. 3-wire bales weighed 150 pounds, nowadays they would scream and holler about that. At $23,000, we had paid too much for the 165-acre farm. There was no house. The barn wasn't the best of shape, and I said that's all right. So, and I went to Farm Credit in Middletown, and finally, and the guy was very good. Appraiser, he came and he looked over our dairy, he looked over all our books, and he says you're a real good job farming, and he said we'll make the appraisal work so we can get you the money. Because I needed to drill a well and I needed to build a house, so I had to have money. And we built, I needed $5,000 to build a house and drill a well. And they said, you'll never do it, but we did. And we just did the downstairs. We didn't finish off upstairs. But this house has got 3x12s for floor beams. They're 3 inches by 12. They're now, maybe they're 2x12s. 2x12s, I guess, but they're full 2 inches.
Full 2 inches.
Yeah, and full 12.
Yeah.
And they used to laugh you could drive a bulldozer across it, but we built a good house. I mean, it was. And
you did the labor yourself.
A lot of it we had, but we had a neighbor down here who was a trucker, and business was a little slack way, and he was a pretty good carpenter, and he helped a lot. And a lot of people I hired to. I wheeled and dealed till I got the house up and we moved in. I had the permit to remodel the barn, and we had one of these early snowstorms we were doing in the fall, and we were moving cows in and out to milk them on one side while we did the other side, and along come this snowstorm one morning, 6 inches of snow, and we had to get the cows in, and so we put them in. And that morning I had come down out of the hay mow, and it was dust, and I was coughing and wasn't in the best of mood to begin with, and because we had worked pretty hard to get the cows back in, get them covered, and and so forth. And then arrived this bird, and he said, you can't put cows in there, I haven't given my approval. And he hit me wrong. In fact, I was young and crazy at that time. I put my hand on his collar and the other on his belt and escorted him right out to the road and don't come back. And I've never seen him back, or he never came back.
So he wanted you to put the cows out into the storm.
Well, I don't know what he wanted, but he just wanted the final say. And I wasn't about to get his final say that morning. We had one thing to do, and that was to get the cows under cover.
Yeah.
And
so he came on the wrong morning, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't know how to put it. Well, we started off, I worked for my father. In fact, I started farming really with him. My father had a bad heart and pneumonia, both the same thing in the winter in my last year of high school. And so in fact, I never finished high school because I had to go to work, but I went back and took the war service diploma, took the tests and got my war service diploma or whatever, but we didn't go to war, but we ran the farm.
Yeah.
And I tried part-time going to school in the winter, and that didn't work out. I used to take the milk to the creamery, come back, go to school, come out early and go home and help and whatever. So it didn't work out. So I quit. I had to go to work.
And that was about a 300-acre operation?
Yeah, roughly 300 acres.
And how many cows did you milk? Do you remember?
Yeah, we had between 60 and 70 at that time.
That was a big herd, wasn't
big
it?
herd at that time.
Yeah,
That's
those
right.
days.
And of course, it was milk cans, and it was all handwork. I remember going back during the Depression as a kid. We milked in the barn. The nails are still there on the beam where we hung the lanterns, and my father would put an ad in for an employee, and we'd have a dozen or 15 standing on the walk behind the cows, and he would be milking and interviewing them at the same time.
Wow.
And I believe, I don't know whether it was, I'm a little vague on this, whether it was $50 or $100 a month plus a house, and they had their fuel and milk and everything that went with it, but that was standard wages, and they were all looking for that job.
Now, where's the water for that? I can see the feed.
See that thing over there?
Oh, on the end, they just walk over.
That's heated for the winter. Yep. Well, they're getting ready to freshen. They have calves. They're all bred. But they get too fat, and then they have problems when they have their calves.
I see.
They don't get the milking. And
So are there calves born every day, or are there calves sort of in bunches?
well, we have a year-round dairy pretty much because we have our expenses year-round. Milk in the fall and in early winter brings more money than it does the rest of the year. They adjust. And then my father and my uncle went to Wisconsin and bought, they came, brought home 3 carloads of cows, 80 head into Chester.
So what breed did they eat? What kind of cows were they?
Well, they were Holsteins.
Holsteins?
They were first calf heifers. That means they had never had a calf. They were bred to be freshened. And my father and uncle built a bunk up in the cattle car and came home with the cows in the bunk up above. And quite an experience. And I can remember as a kid, I was only 6 or 7 years old, they got in at Chester and got us all up at 6 o'clock, and we drove the cows from Chester down to Johnson Road. And that was quite right up through the middle of town. And I remember the big steel railroad bridge by the Catholic Church in Chester, and had steel plates where the cars drove across, and the cows wouldn't cross. And my father was bringing up the rear, and he hollered to them. He said, "Just take 2 or 3 and take across. The rest will follow." And that's right. They finally took 2 or 3 cows, got them across, and immediately the rest followed. And then we went down to where the development is on 94, and we cut the fence and went cross lots with the cows. And I remember my father telling me that, you're going to make some mistakes. Try not to make the same mistake twice.
It's good advice.
Yeah.
Now, Sandy, your brother, was younger?
He's younger. He's 5 years younger than I am.
Okay, so he was only around 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So you really had the thing on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Boy, it's a big responsibility.
Well, it was, of course, we were used to cows and milking. We had a couple of good fellows that worked, but they need direction, and they needed... and my father got to, he survived that. And
But during World War II, the prices go up for farm products?
yeah, to a certain, you couldn't buy equipment. Everything was on you had to have a priority or whatever. I can remember at auction sales, they had a limit what you could buy a tractor for, the price. They tried to control the price. And they would put a bale of hay with it, and you paid for the bale of hay. If you paid $500 more for the bale of hay, you got the tractor. That overcame where there's most government regulations, they'll find a way to beat them. But,
So that was the way around that, huh?
the way around that, everybody needed a tractor, and some were willing to pay more than others. And and we needed a tractor badly. My father had an order in for a long time for tractors, and finally got one, and then 2, and but we had to change. We used to cultivate corn with horses and whatever. I thought we'd gone to heaven when we got a tractor with a cultivator on it. Did 2 rows at a time, and now of course we don't cultivate that much. We spray but we're producing now the best food in the world. I mean, I'm not bemoaning the farmers today in the United States, and I don't think they appreciate, the general public appreciates what they're getting. But a lot goes in, and our biggest problem today in farming is education. Biggest.
I would imagine that since you were about 17 when the war started, that you must have known a number of guys from your school that went into the service.
Oh yeah, I went down to New York City for a physical. They were going to draft me too, but my eyes were bad. I'm blind without my glasses, so that I didn't get in. But I had some friends that didn't come back.
The one other dairy farm in Goshen was also acquired in the 1950s. You can see some of its scenic fields and barns while traveling along Pulaski Highway. It is owned and operated by the Dykeshorn family. Martin Dykeshorn Sr. was born in Holland and immigrated to this country after World War II in 1949. 89 years old, he tells his story.
Your name is
Martin Dykeshorn.
Martin Dykeshorn. And when were you born? What year?
6/4/21.
1921. And where were you born?
In Holland,
In Holland,
the Netherlands.
the Netherlands. Now, were you born on a farm? Was
Yeah.
Farm family
My
there?
father was a farmer.
What kind of farming did he do?
Milk cows.
Milk cows. So you grew up milk
Milking
cows.
cows.
Yeah.
And summer work, you know, we out the stickers in the field, like you know here we call it the Canadian thistles.
Mm-hmm.
And we ought to, in the summertime, we ought to with the plug and ought to pull them out. Because, you know, there was no spraying or something.
Right.
No. And there were butterfly, buttercup flowers, all growing in the field.
And when did you come to America?
Well, in 49.
In '49. Now, how did that happen? What was?
Well, in Holland, there was in the time that people, after the war, everybody wanted to leave Holland.
Oh.
And now, yeah, my father, I got four brothers, and my brothers, you know, the farm was 40 cows, and I got 100 on the farm. I could work for one uncle from my mother's side, but I didn't want it because I started talking about going to the United States. A friend of mine in town, he had relatives in New York State, in Delhi, New York.
Delhi.
Walton.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I started thinking about it, and I called the man up and wrote a letter, and he sponsored me. So I worked for a couple of years in Delhi. But the problem was, in Delhi, I don't know, I couldn't find a church that'll shoot me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go, and then I found a friend of mine, we went here to Goshen, and we met in church. And somebody, a friend here, he got me, we got a meal and we went home, and later on, I was talking about, in Delhi I got $50 an hour, room and board.
50? No.
A month.
A month.
A month.
Yeah.
For $50. And I got here, I didn't want to, I said, I don't belong in, I would like to get my own church group. And that was here in Goshen. So I got a guy here he lives in Scottstown, and he told me on the job by his nephew. And then I work in Howells for a yard for the man on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
And I just slowly on, I got an old car for probably $100. That when the man you hired me for $100 a month.
So you're making twice as much money.
And the next place I come, he got me $10 more. He must be happy.
You must have been happy.
In the meantime, I found a girl here, and I said, I like to start farming for myself. I don't feel like working for everybody. I don't come to this country to work for everybody else.
Right.
Huh?
Sure.
Why should you? I mean, I seen all of people out greenhouse and garden. I see them they're loading on the truck one day, and you went to Canada. You know, I could have gone to Canada too. But I didn't know, but a friend told me I would go to the United States. Because he had a brother here in the United States.
Now, what's the church that you are part of here?
Huh?
What's the name of the church you're part of
Christian
here?
Reform.
Pardon me?
Christian Reform.
Christian Reformed. Is that right here in Goshen?
Right here.
Right down the road there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when did you get this, your first farm?
First of all, I was found by the time Child Record was a mill farm.
Yes.
You know, I borrowed money, somebody helped me, and the bank supported me. Well, the milk price was less than $4 that time. I couldn't make no living. Then I found another farm in Edenville.
I know where that is.
You know,
Town of
where the cemetery from Florida, right where you go to Edenville.
Mm-hmm.
I farmed the farm there. And I like to buy the farm. And the guy, the owner, he would give me, I could buy it, but he would not give me, couldn't get a deed till it was 100% paid.
Oh.
I talked to a lawyer, he said, don't do it. I look around here, all the places. Well, I didn't have no money, and people had a little skeptic, you know. Guy walked on the yard with me one day. I said, what? I said, I know farm for sale. I said, go see the banker in Florida, to Mr. Morris. And he was executive for the state for Finnegan. You ever
Okay.
heard of Finnegan's Corner?
Yeah.
They're Finnegan Estates. And there were here 4 farms all around.
So this
He
was-
owned them.
This was Finnegan's land.
Yeah. Well, he said that. I said, this farm is for sale too. You know, it was the owner farm. He said, well, I want to buy them next year. I said, you buy them right now.
Now, is your wife still alive? No, I'm sorry.
He's gone. He's gone for 9 years.
9 years.
She had rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, it's terrible. Terrible.
I took her twice to Holland in a wheelchair.
Was she from Holland? Holland? Did she ever?
No.
No,
She was born here.
But you.
Well, the outcome, you know what.
But you went back to visit.
We went back to visit.
Yeah.
I took her home.
Yeah.
She had a good time.
That's good.
Even though she couldn't talk Dutch.
Now, when you were farming, did you have any, like, I don't know, barn fires or anything, any tragedies like that? Because you're over at Harold Baxter Farm, and they lost their barn in 1959. I just wondered if you had any real problems like that.
Nope. I got one time a kid down the road, the cows crossed the road, he drove right in a group of cows.
Drove into the cows.
80-foot skid mark, and he still killed the cows. Whoa! Over crossing the cows. I had to ship a couple of cows, you were good, bad, and then, well, luckily it never happened again.
Yeah.
You know, but some people, like, I don't, right now, I drive around here, and I don't feel like long driving.
Right. Right.
I got busy sometimes,
Better not be driving if you're getting busy.
you know.
No.
It's short hit,
So your cows have to cross that road every day.
you know, and after we cut the hay off,
Right.
you're not getting until the hay's are off.
Right.
And we could keep them cross every day, not at night.
Not at night.
So we done only by once a day.
Right.
Well, yeah, you know, I don't know, sometimes you wonder what the water, how the water works.
That's right.
Because I had the water, they told me, my wife, I should put a nursing home. And I was thinking about it, I thought about it, because you need help all the time.
Oh yeah.
I found out, I prayed the Lord and he told me, I make it home. And I'm glad I took care of the left man.
Very nice. Very sad, but
And she looked like a baby to her sleep.
oh, that's great.
When I got there with a neighbor, one day, my son said they were in the field here. Hey, let's why don't you go with the neighbor? Take the skid loader and get a bale of hay because we rented a farm with a neighbor. Down there, up the road. The man is sitting there working on his lawnmower. I drove alongside of it, I sit there, it's like in the skid loader. Pick it up. He stood alongside of me. He said, I ended up there. Just like that. Why did they have to be there?
I don't know. Who knows?
Is the Lord maybe there?
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
They trust in the Lord, you know.
Yeah.
So long I'm farming, I would never go buy later on. I bought an old tractor, 2 old tractors, and I got rid of them. And I always, after the farm was paid off, I pay cash for everything. Never paid interest.
Well, that's one of the main reasons why farm is still in business. You don't pay interest. You can't buy it with cash. You don't buy it.
I know.
Would you say you loved farming? Did you love it, or it was just work?
Well, farming, I grew up that way.
You were brought up to it?
I'm like, carpenter work is mine. I love it. I build it all over myself.
You love to be a carpenter.
I always like carpenter.
You like carpentry.
But cows, you have to take care of them.
Right.
You cannot say, here, to this and blood.
Yeah.
I seen I said some relatives to me. And then I said to myself, can you not take care of the animals? Huh? The animals go first.
Right.
And you have to remember that. You own the animals, you have to take care of them. They will do good for you, but you take care of them.
Okay, good. Well, listen, thanks again. That was great. That was great.
Yeah, down again, but the belt is not the right one.
Oh dear. Let me.
This is too long, and that's too short. And I got another one down there.
When these interviews were being done during the summer of 2010, it was learned that the cows on the last dairy farm in the nearby Orange County town of New Windsor were being sold. Peggy Baxter, also in her 80s, tells about starting her farm with her late husband, Harold, in 1950. She was interviewed on an emotional day, the day of the auction. Now, did you grow up on a farm yourself?
Yes, I did.
And you always wanted to marry a farmer?
No, I didn't. I always said I'm not going to marry a farmer, but I did.
Now, why did you say that?
Because I grew up on a dairy farm. My mother and father had a farm. And I was just tired of it.
It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Every day, morning and night, 365 days a year.
Now I was talking to, I guess, some nieces of yours, and
My-
they're here today, and they said growing up on a dairy farm was heaven on earth.
Yeah, they liked it, right?
Yeah.
They enjoyed it.
I understand that this barn that's over here, right behind us here, was burned down at one point?
Yes, in 1959. In
Was it-
January 1959.
Was it hay? The hay caught on fire, or how did it start?
It was suspicious for a man that was parked out by the road, we thought.
Ah, terrible.
It just didn't look right.
Yeah,
There were several barns being burned at that time.
yeah. The how does it make you feel to see the farm sold? I mean,
Very sad, but under the conditions, there is no choice.
there's no choice.
No choice.
Just can't make a living these days.
No, when my son's
Not happy with
in
it.
the best of health.
Ah, that's a shame.
You know, so it's more health than anything.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful place. I mean, do you think someone else will farm here, or
No, I don't think so.
no? What would you say? I've been talking to Bill Johnston about his farm over in Fort Hill Road, and he seems to be, I don't know, it's pretty bitter about the government and the policies. Do you think that's basically the problem?
Yes. Well, with all the farmers going out,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
There's no money in it. You cannot make ends meet. Your milk check does not cover the bills.
Yeah.
You find other ways to pay your bills.
And talking to his son Phil said even though I guess he's just sort of breaking even over there, he loves it so much he's just not going to stop.
No. Well, if you get involved and, and you have your farm and you have to make payments and things, there's only one way, right? Because you can't sell it now.
Phil says when he gets up in the morning, he's so excited. And he doesn't, 16 hours a day, that's fine with him. Is that the way you felt when you were?
Oh, yeah. Well, years back,
yeah.
It was very nice for me. Children enjoyed it. We had 4 children.
And the cow, you knew the names of each cow?
Every cow, they were all registered.
Yeah. Well, it's a sad day. It's like the end of an era.
Yeah, farming is, you have to be there, so you're there.
Yeah.
Morning and night, 365 days a year.
But it's been a great life.
Yes, it really is. It
Yeah.
was nice when we came here in 1950 because it was all country,
Yeah.
just
Now,
a few houses. Now it's all built.
now, the farm that you grew up on, was that in Hamptonburg?
No, that was on Jackson Avenue, Nooner Farm.
And did you have horses that worked the land, or was
Yes, we did have horses for a few years, and then they got tractors. We got tractors.
it? Yeah. Did you like working those horses, or
No,
too much work?
I was very afraid of horses.
Yeah. Bill
We had riding horses here for the girls.
Johnston hates horses.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm afraid of them. That's what.
Yeah.
But my girls, they had all kinds of riding horses and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I never rode.
Yeah. Well, Claudia loves.
She rides.
Yeah, she rides.
Yeah.
She enjoys the horses.
Right.
It's a tough day for 59-year-old Harold Baxter Jr., who would still be farming if it weren't for some health issues. Well, Harold, this is the day, huh?
Yes.
And you said it's bittersweet?
Yes. Bittersweet. I mean,
You're born on this farm?
yes. In 1950.
1950. And you took it over at what point? Did you?
Well, I graduated from high school in 68. In 70, I come home from Cobleskill, and I guess 3 years later, I went in partnership with my father. And I was in partnership with my father until he retired at, I don't remember the year, but 60, it probably was like 90, 4 or 5.
95,
And then I
5,
took it over in 94 or 5, somewhere around there.
Now, the farm, people that I've been talking to, like the Johnsons, either they love it or like the grandchildren don't seem to have the bug.
Right. Well, my son, he doesn't have the bug. He's a school
Yeah.
teacher,
But-
which is fine.
But how do you explain it, though? I mean, Bill Johnson and Phil, they both get up in the morning and they're excited. I mean, is that the way you feel?
More so, I guess, when I was younger.
Yeah, when you were younger.
And the economics has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be excited getting up and losing money every day.
Right.
That's what we did for the
Yeah.
last, couple years.
Yeah.
You don't know where to turn.
How many cows, when you first started getting involved with your dad, how many cows were you milking?
40
head.
40 cows, yeah. And just a few heifers.
Now, did you have a milking father then?
We milked with buckets.
So you were bending over and
Bending over. But in 71 we put the addition on the barn.
yeah.
One addition, and then we were milking 80 in 71.
Is that before the fire? Or after?
No, that was after.
After.
That was after I got out of high school.
Yeah.
Up until that point, so 71, we just milked 40 cows. My father milked 40 cows in the one barn, and then when I come home from school, we put an addition on the barn.
Yeah.
And then we could milk 80. And then in 91, I built this calf barn and changed things around, and now we could milk 98 cows in that barn that's there
Wow.
now. And then the heifers, we had the heifers on another farm and built the heifer barn in 1980. All those years, you could make enough money. Every year we did something,
Yeah,
new
little
heifer
improvement.
barn, new silo, just, there was money, or buy a new piece. The last few years, you haven't been able to, the price stayed the same. Everything else went up. So it's made it real tough.
I'm trying to remember, there was a period when there was a real bad drought for like 3-4 years.
That was in the 60s.
That was in the
It
60s?
was in the 60s, yeah. The pond dried completely up. I was only 12 or 13 years old. When my father had built a silo in the back, we added on to it in 73, but
Yeah.
he built it was like 20 by 30, and he didn't put a roof on it. And stood there 2 years and didn't put anything. Built a new silo and didn't have anything to put in it. So, and after that we filled it, and then in 71 we put another 30-foot addition on it. And then 76 we built a concrete silo in the front. 1980 we built a silo from high moisture corn. We went to high moisture corn. I started growing a lot more corn. At one point we were growing over 200 acres of corn.
Right.
I used land in 3 townships: Blooming Grove, Cornwall, and New Windsor.
Yeah. So, what's going to happen to the farm now that the cows are going to be gone?
I still have 100 head, but not milkers.
Not milkers.
And so I have some steers and bulls.
So
and
you'll be in the
heifers.
cattle business, not the dairy
Well,
business.
Yeah, I guess. And crops, I don't know. It's hard to sell crops now, too, because all the dairy farmers are getting out. Everybody grows hay.
That's right.
And the horse farmers, the economy, the backyard horse farmers are getting rid of their horses. So, and there's no building. I would sell
Right.
a lot of mulch hay, but there's no building, so it's hit us too. Everything. And then the milk price is it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's part of it, and we try to enjoy life a little bit, I did my time.
Okay, don't get any better than this right here. What do you say, boys? What do you say? Get her going. Give me $2,500. Get her going. Who give me $2,000? Who give me $2,000? Let's have a sale. Give me $1,200. Let's go. $1,000. Go. 10 bid 11, give 11, 11 bid 12, 12, 12. Give me 12, 12, 12. 11 bid 12. Give me 12, 12, 12. Time to buy first. What's the cheapest? 11 bid 12, 11 bid a half bid 12. Give me 12, 12 bid a half. 12 and a half. Give a half. Give a half. 12, 50. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. Give a half. 12 bid a half. 12 bid a quarter. 12 and a quarter. 12 and a quarter. Give me 25. Do you want 25? 12, 25. Half. 75. 75. 75. 12, 75. Give me 75. 12, 75. 12, 75.
Just fresh heifer ready to go home and go to work. Look at the straight lines on this heifer.
You're under the money on this kind of heifer today. Folks, we're all in the same game. About 2.5 years ago, I'd have been at $3,000 and running, and you'd all had your flags in the air. Opportunity right here. All right, I got 12 and a half. Got to be 75. Take her home, get her out of here. 1,300. 13 now, quarter. Give a quarter, give a quarter. 13, 25. Now half. 13 and a half. Give a half. 13 and a half. 75. Yeah. Now 14. Give me 14. 14. Get a change. 14. Give me 1,400. 1,400. 14. You keep waving like that, you're going to own a cow. 14. Give me 14. 1,400. 14. Sold the cow. 13.75. There's your heifer calf. Number 27.
So your name is
Tom Hoskins.
Tom Hoskins, and you're actually from Orange County.
Orange County originally, yep.
Yeah, and now
we live in Nichols, New York, and own an auction facility in Athens, Pennsylvania also.
So you've done a number of these auctions.
I'm in the cattle business 24/7, every day of the week.
So what's happening to dairy farms?
The government is leaving them out of the picture. They're running them out of business. Period. It's all government controlled.
When you go to a farm, and like today, and the whole family's here, and you got Peggy is here. She was here in 1960 when the farm was when they started with it, and grandchildren are here. How do you feel about what? I mean, it's a business for you.
I think it's absolutely pathetic because there'll never be another cow. There'll probably never be cows here milking again ever. I do 20 of these a year. In today's economy, these dairy cattle are worth half of what they were 2 years ago.
Is that right?
And that's how they're trying to survive. They're trying to buy cheap cattle to continue.
Yeah.
There's cattle in this barn that would have brought $5,000 2 years ago, and if we get one to $2,000 today, it's going to be a real good sale.
Wow.
That's the picture.
Wow.
They're less than half the value of what they were 2 years ago.
Mm.
And, that's what I do for a living. I don't like to tell people that.
Right.
That's real. There's nobody there to buy it. The money's not there.
It's not like when you go to these auto auctions on television where there's a reserve number. There's no reserve on these cows.
No, it's he's made the commitment to get out of business this afternoon, and he's gonna. When we're all done, we're gonna load the trucks, and he's gonna be out of business.
So tomorrow morning, he's not going to be milking.
There may be a couple holdovers, but he's just going to milk them for somebody else. They'll all be out of here by tomorrow afternoon.
End of an era.
Yep.
The next generation in the Baxter family is not interested in operating a dairy farm, so the cows go to auction. Will that be the eventual fate of the Johnson farm? Today, Phil Johnson Sr., Alice and Bill's 59-year-old son, and his wife Claudia are the owner-operators of the Johnson farm on Fort Hill Road. Well, I guess what my primary purpose is, I asked the question, 50 years from now, what are people want to know about in regard to dairy farms? Because the way things are headed, there probably won't be any more dairy farms in the town of Goshen.
Yeah, or Orange County, maybe.
Or maybe even Orange County.
Yeah.
So, they're probably going to scratch their heads and say to themselves, I wonder what it was like to live on a dairy farm and to grow up on a dairy farm. And so you were born, what in the 50s?
1951.
1951. Okay. So your earliest memories are of a farm. Were there any horses on the farm in the 50s?
There was.
That were actually used for work?
And we were pretty much out of them, but some farmers still used horses around. We didn't. My father, we still had a lot of horse equipment. Like when I was growing up as a boy in the mid-50s, early 60s, I can remember early 60s even, we used a horse-drawn two-row corn planter. We adapted it to a tractor, of course. But I remember the long pole being on it one time, and that was used to plant corn with a team of horses.
So
so the
learned...
equipment dragged on, and the horses went by the wayside. And but my father couldn't stand horses. My father hated horses. My grandfather used horses, and wanted to hang on. It was this change thing that I've actually seen in my generation. My son and I differed very differently on, or very radically on ideas of how to run the farm, and it didn't work out because Greg's a veterinarian now. But it's a lot of things. The reason why my son's not here, I mean, there's just no money to pay him basically, and it's just that was the biggest problem this way. But what I would do when I was a boy, I had a little BN farm mall tractor I learned to drive on. And my job, as opposed to my mother's job with a horse, see, this was a horse piece of equipment, was she'd go out and clean up the rakings, they call it. So after the main crew took the hay off, whether they did it with a hay loader, loose hay, or a baler, or whatever, there was always corners that got missed. And frugal that farmers were, you saved that hay,
Sure.
So you took this dump rake, and I went back and forth across this field. Now, I would go across the whole field maybe 2 or 3 times before I dumped it. Well, I would end up with a windrow that would be 2 or 3 feet high, 2 or 3 feet wide, and maybe 150 feet long that we saved out of that field. And then we'd come back with a baler. And I think it was a way for me to drive a tractor, keep me occupied. And I loved driving tractor, and I loved farming, of course, and you couldn't get me off of it. My kids, when they come home from school, they had other things to do, and they just never had the interest. And I'm not knocking them, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Just there was so much more. But you couldn't keep me off a tractor in the afternoon. I just couldn't wait to get out of school and get out here and do something. And I think my father, that dump brake was an excuse to get me on something to get me out of his hair. And it gave me practice. I learned how to avoid woodchuck holes. And, I learned if you did hit a woodchuck hole at the front end, you got your hand broke almost because the steering wheel, there's no power steering. Spinning the wheel around, all this kind of stuff. And I learned how to take it easy on the side hill and what to do. And it was a good way of learning to drive a tractor. And I got many hours in the afternoon and summertime doing that. And there really was no school then. It was summertime, so it was good. But anyway, so that was how I was acclimated. But I've been around the harness. I don't know if I could harness a horse to this day, but I mean, I've been around it and I know how it goes on.
Yeah.
But I could see my father's point and my grandfather's point, because bear in mind, my grandfather Johnson was alive, and my grandfather Clem White was alive when I was this age, up until I was about 16. They had their reasons for using horses, and I think about it yet today. One of the big advantages to horses was they had a brain. Now, our tractors are getting smarter and more intelligent with GPS and all this kind of stuff now. But the horse knew how to cultivate corn. You could actually go to sleep cultivating corn with a horse because the horse knew where to put the cultivators to walk down the road. And if you needed to hook the horse up to a wagon, you didn't have to go get on it and start it, as my grandfather used to say. You whistled, or you just said a couple words and the horse come over. I mean, all this stuff was not all bad, when I think about it today. We're starting a 150 horse tractor to move up 5 yards to back up to the horse would have been there waiting for you. I mean, a well-trained horse, which they were, because you work with them every day. The disadvantage of horses, if you went to go out to do a 15-minute job, it took you 20 minutes to get ready to do it, time you harnessed them up. And then you had to feed them. You had to really brush them down, get them put away when you're done. Where the tractor, you turned the key off, and you turn around, and you were done. So this is just stuff, point of view, kind of thing, that people 40 years from now may not realize, so... But the horse went by the wayside because petroleum was so cheap and, relatively cheap, or really compared to today, it was really cheap, And, you could turn the convenience of a tractor. And there was more productivity with one man than one person on the farm. This is what agriculture has gone through, this transition of where over half our population were farmers to where now 2% of us, I think it's 1.5% actually now, produces the food for our country and parts of the world. So that has been the success of farm. It's been the what do you want to say, the disdain or the extinction of small farms, because farms have gotten bigger, and
you're around for worse than me, because the more efficient farmer is putting the less efficient farmer out of business.
We've been a survival of the fittest for years, and this is where we've come to. And that's my son really spoke to me, my son Greg, who's a veterinarian, said, 2 or 3 years ago, he had a good point. I mean, we didn't want to do this, of course, but he said, get out of Goshen, sell this land for, $2-3 million at the time. It would have been no problem, maybe more. And go upstate where you can milk 3,000 cows, and you can have the proper equipment. You've got the big fields. I mean, I'll give you an example. I plant 500 acres of corn, and it's in 118 fields. My cousin in Iowa plants 640 acres in one field, a section. And he has 4 sections he farms, his boss does, and so forth. So that we have to go around these little 3 and 4 acre fields twice with our planter, pick up all these back and forth. Every time you go to the end, you got to pick up, line up. And this is with a harvester, a planter, a sprayer, whatever you're doing. Where out there, you're going half a mile, and you're getting more done per hour, and it's much more efficient. And as we are feeling the very competitive effect of the world now. People in the rest of the world are more efficient at producing food than we are.
I was talking with Ted Sly about the kinds of skills that a farmer has to have, besides being willing to work 16 hours a day and get yourself knocked around physically, you got to really have a business head, because it's it's scenic for someone driving past, but it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
And have you had business courses and things, or how did you learn?
Well, I
that
went to
part?
Cobbleskills 2 years, took some ag economic classes, but very minimal. I guess the School of Hard Knocks has taught me a lot of things. I do a lot of reading, and I don't watch TV to speak of. And so I read a lot, and over the years, I've diversified to some degree. I mean, I haven't diversified as far as selling my own yogurt or cheese, which I dream about a lot, but my dog's getting bored already, heard this story. but I've gotten into selling some farm equipment, and it's equipment that's not, I'm not a John Deere dealer by any means or anything, or a big tractor line, but I have a lot of short lines I sell. And we found that I got into this because 25, 30 years ago, all that, if not more, when I was a lot younger, we started using chemicals more. I mean, it was time when chemicals come out. And bear in mind, I cultivated a lot of corn when I was a kid, and that was my job. And the worst thing was, that's why I talk about the analogy of the horse knowing where to go. I'd be on the old Moline tractor cultivating corn on a hot, brutally hot day, going back and forth and doing 2 rows at a time, and you'd fall asleep. I don't care. It's just watching that corn going through it just puts you right to sleep. And where the horse kept going straight, you could fall asleep, and he'd wake you up when you got to the end. But when we started using atrazine and we started using some chemicals to control weeds, I mean, I'd go out there with a sprayer and spray 35 feet with this little trailer sprayer, and I was done for the season. It was, I mean, the workload it took off of us was like, now we can do a better job doing this. But there again, everybody had that, so we grew more corn, and the price stayed down or whatever. But it made the society better. This was better for society. I mean, people are into chemicals today and all this, but chemicals actually allow us to choose between conventionally grown stuff and organic stuff. If we didn't have chemicals, there'd be no choices, because there'd be hungry people. And people in Africa have no problem with genetically engineered plants that are drought resistant and so forth, because they're hungry. We're not hungry in this country. We can make choices, and we have enough money from our elevated style of living and our incomes that we can afford to pay more for this, because we don't want that. But getting back to, and here again, I lost track of where we are.
I think you lost me on that one.
Well,
we started out with the price of tractors.
Yeah,
and,
okay. I'll follow up with a price of a harvester.
You were diversifying.
Yeah, and I have somewhere a letter I'll give you, because I wrote it to the town of Goshen on development rights. I was against development rights for quite a while. My father was too. We felt we could make it without selling our development rights. My mother and father, if they'd have sold their development rights back in 1955 for, let's say, $25,000, because they paid $17 per farm, they would have thought, well, we're richer and rich. But where would that put them today when they had to go borrow money and the value of their farm was gone? Really the value of the farm isn't the development potential. And I had used in a letter, which I'll give you a copy of, because I'll just pull off the computer somewhere there. I used in the letter an analogy of a harvester for corn, because we had receipts and everything to back this up with. My grandmother, Anna Mae, bought what they call a corn binder for, I think, brand new for $800, 1 row corn binder. And that's what put the shucks of corn together, and then they took the shucks of corn in and put them through a forage harvester at the silo, or they call it ensilage cutter, and it blew it up the silo. And my mother used to pack the silo and stuff, and that's how you do it. And this is how ideas changed on a farm. Well, then an engineer or somebody, probably a farmer somewhere, got the bright idea, well, we'll chop it out in the field, bring it in a wagon, already chopped, and blow it up in the silo. So my father bought a 1-row field chopper back in the early 50s, and he had paid, I think, $1,600 for that. And then from there, the next thing was a 2-row chopper, which was like $2,800. He had to receive $2,800. And as we come through the 60s, 70s, we used a 2-row chopper. Well, in the early 80s, I bought a 4-row full-type chopper. And I paid, and don't get me wrong, as we come 10 or 15 years, the 2-row choppers got to be $10,000 or $15,000 a piece. And the 4-row chopper was $27,000 new. And I needed a big tractor, 200-horse tractor to pull it. We bought a used one in Iowa and come back here and so forth with it. And now, if I was to replace that 4-row chopper, which, by the way, was new in 1982, so it's like 28 years old now. So I'm a pretty good fixer. That's how I'm a survivor. And it's been to our benefit to fix things and not buy a lot of new equipment. My pickup, one of my pickups is 20 years old, the other one's 18 years old, and my newest pickup is 10 years old. So, we run pickups, we fix them, we put tires on. But we always have a lot of grease under our fingernails. That's the problem. And I think the generation today, and I'm not knocking them in the least, The generation today doesn't want to do that. They want to get in something like it's a toaster and turn the key, and at 5 o'clock at night they don't want to be fixing something the next day. They want to park it, and you can still do that, but the investment you have to make and the amount of infrastructure or farm that you need to justify the investment you can't have in Orange County or down in Goshen. You just can't. For example, follow up with this harvester. If I was to replace my 26, 28-year-old harvesters now with a new one, it would probably be a self-propelled that cuts 6 rows. And several of my neighbors do that around here. The Fords in Westtown bought a brand new self-propelled with 6-row and they chop. So we chop a lot of our stuff for our cows. Bear in mind, it's fermented in the silos. We use a big bunker silo. It's more efficient. You can get more high-quality forage off quicker, which we want because we want the cows to get the most energy and protein from that plant when it's at the right stage. If we miss by a week, bear in mind, we've lost our value of that crop drops by 50%. So this is where you want to get as much off. And anyway, the Forge bought a brand new forage harvester. It was $440,000. So I'm not doing that. You know, I went to Empire Farm Days just 2 weeks ago. My youngest son Phil went with me. You just missed him. He left for Illinois here this morning, but it would have been good if he was here.
Yes.
But he had to, in fact, he would have been gone on Saturday, but he had to get tires on his car, which we helped him with today. And he's on his way out there now. He's driving across. So, but he's an agriculture engineer. He's getting a master's at the University of Illinois in agriculture engineering.
Martin Dykeshorn Jr., along with his brother Albert and Albert's wife Elizabeth, now operate the Dykeshorn farm. Tragically, almost exactly 1 year after this interview was conducted in the late summer of 2010, Martin Dykeshorn Jr. died on their farm. In spite of many medical challenges, he was working up to and including the day he died. This is his story.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, Martin Dykeshorn Jr., a little bit about growing up on a farm. And were you born in the town of Goshen?
Yep.
And so you've been on the farm how many years?
All my life, 53.
53 years. And when you were a child, did you, as a very young child, right away get involved with like chores and things on the farm? Can you recall?
Yeah.
What kinds of things did you do when you were like elementary school age? Can you remember some of the stuff that you were involved with?
Like sweeping the corn in and scraping the stalls, shaking hay around.
Yeah,
little things like that.
Little things like that. Now, were you using horses at that time?
No.
The stalls were referring to the cattle, to the cows.
Yeah, cows. No cows.
Remember how many cows you were milking at that time?
Oh, I think back in them days, earliest I can remember is like 49.
49.
Dad was milking the barn full then.
Was it 1949 you're talking about? Or no?
No, I was milking.
You were milking 49.
49
okay.
cows.
That's a pretty good sized herd back then.
Now, that's what I can remember.
Yeah.
I mean, that used to go down to the wall right here, and that's how far the barn was back then. That cross wall.
That cross wall. Okay.
49 animals.
This barn, is this one that your dad built?
No.
This was here?
This was here.
Yeah.
Well, part of it.
Part of it. Not,
we added on.
Right, you added
this
on.
One, John Deere B, 1952. That was the first one Dad bought.
And you still have it?
We still use it.
You still use it? If something goes wrong mechanically with that, who does the repair?
If it's simple, us.
You do.
So if it's major, it's probably going to go scrap. It's mostly the things that go wrong with that is like the electrical. If it stands outside too much,
right.
If it's left outside and gets wet, then you got electrical. Then we got problems with. Otherwise, it's they're made very simple. So I mean,
what's the newest tractor?
That one with a loader out there.
How new is it?
2 years old.
2 years old. And there's a huge difference between the old tractors and the new ones as far as, like, I don't know, safety and...
Oh, yeah. This one's got a cab on, seat belts.
Yeah.
The other one was just an open tractor.
I have an uncle out in Iowa who was on a tractor and it turned over, and he was lucky. He wasn't seriously injured. I guess a lot of that happens a lot of times if you're not careful.
Oh, there's one right down. There was one about 30 miles from here in the spring. Guy had a tractor and I think he was baling hay and he hit a woodchuck hole and it tipped over on him.
And did I read about that? Did he die?
Yeah, he died.
He was crushed.
He was crushed.
Oh, gosh, that's terrible.
It was a big track, a lot of horsepower, like 125 horsepower tractor.
Mm-hmm.
The wheels were set as tight as they could go, so they could put 2 wheels on each side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they took the one set off, so so they can do the haying with it, and well, then they're set so narrow that it's so top heavy.
Yeah, so it becomes more dangerous.
Becomes more dangerous.
Yeah.
And then when he hit that hole, it just went over.
Now, if he'd had a cab, are the cabs reinforced like a basket or a steel frame around you?
Yeah.
He would have been okay?
If he wore a seatbelt.
Do you think most farmers wear seatbelts?
No.
Maybe on a hillside they might, but...
On a hillside and a road, I started wearing seatbelts on the road now.
Yeah.
Never used to otherwise, but on hillsides, yeah.
What makes you work so hard? 16 hours a day, some days. You've got ailments and everything else. Is there there's got to be an easier way to make a living. In fact, there's got to be a number of easier ways to make a living.
Well, I don't know. I don't know anything else.
So you just, this is what you know. This is what you do.
This is what I know. This is the way we do it.
Yeah.
I mean, these people working 8 hours, they get home, what do they do all day? One thing they say about farmers, when they quit working, they die because they don't know what to do with themselves.
So I guess the idea is you don't quit.
Don't quit.
I knew a farmer upstate, and he didn't call it retired. He called giving up.
Giving up.
Like it's a war, and you surrender at a certain point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's in your blood. Yes.
It's in your blood.
It's in your blood.
How are you going to feel if 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when you give up, there are no dairy farms in this part of the country? Is that going to be like a sad thing, or?
What's a sad thing when there's no farms next door?
When they shut down the next door, was it basically economic reasons that?
Age. For the man up the road, it was his age.
Yeah. But if it were a thriving business, then somebody else would have jumped in and be farming there. So.
Yeah, but still, you got to work so many hours. A lot of people don't want to do that. You see these people on the computers can make $100,000 in a month. I mean, why sit here doing it?
Yeah.
When you make that much a year, if that.
Yeah.
Just puttering around and doing stuff, but chasing cows. Cows. I always say cows kill you.
And why do you say that?
Because you get kicked. You can get run over by them. There's 7 days of work a week. You got to bend under them all the time.
So, and people think of it as a continuous drudgery, but they don't really look at the danger. Well, because they're actually very large animals. And I guess some of them aren't as good-natured as others.
Well, back in January, I got kicked twice by the same cow. I went to take the machine off. She kicked me in the leg right there twice. I couldn't walk straight. Couldn't bend that knee for a month. Couldn't hardly walk. But had to keep farming.
Yep.
Another time I was chasing a cow. And a guy had to put her in his first stall right here. And she decided she was going to back up. She backed right over top of me. Popped in tendons in my knee doing that. It's been twice in a hospital for it. I'm back chasing cows again.
Since there are no Dykeshorn grandchildren, it is difficult to imagine this productive, scenic farm continuing as a dairy farm once Albert and Elizabeth Dykeshorn retire. Will there be an auction on the Dykeshorn farm, like the one on the Baxter farm in New Windsor? And what about Phil and Claudia Johnson's 3 children? Will one of them continue the family farm? Phil Johnson Jr., sitting in his father's farm office, answers that question.
I think when we were young, kind of all the siblings, me, my brother, and my sister, we all kind of tried to get away from the farm for a while, and then after as we started to get through college, or eventually kind of go back to it, and you realize it wasn't so bad, or that you like some aspects of it. But for instance, my brother, when he was in high school, he always used to say like, "Oh, I hate farming. I'm never gonna do anything related to it." And then he, of course, became a veterinarian, and he likes to work on dairy cows. And I went to school as an engineer, and then I got a job in California working as an engineer. And then when it got time to, they asked me if I would work there full time, and I figured, oh no, maybe I'll go back and get a master's in agricultural engineering.
When we talked to your grandfather, he was telling us about, you probably have heard all these stories, maybe not, but he was talking about having to drop out of school when his father, got sick.
Yeah.
And just a whole different era. And also his memories of, he remembers during the Depression, he was just a kid, but his dad interviewing people looking for work, and how difficult it was. Farm prices have fluctuated for dairy. For the milk prices have fluctuated so much. Did you sometimes have the feeling that it's just from an economic point of view, farming is just not something you want to be involved in?
Yeah, pretty. I mean, it's just hard to justify doing it. I mean, even other farmers tell me that I shouldn't do it. I mean, I'm not. I think if you're going to be a farmer, you have to be like 100%. Like, you have to have absolutely no question in your mind that that's what you want to do, because it's a lot of work and you're not going to make that much money. So if you don't like doing it, then you're going to be pretty miserable.
What about Betsy Johnson, Phil's sister? She is a veterinarian. She also has reservations about operating a dairy farm. Did you ever think, gee, I'd like to have a farm someday?
I thought that growing up, and I still think that, but the lifestyle is hard. I think it's not even a lifestyle, it's just your life. Like my dad takes pictures of tractors and takes pictures of fields, and he just loves it. There's nothing else he would rather do. And same thing with my grandfather. But but I've noticed, me and, I can't speak for my brothers, but myself, I'd like to have a weekend, where I can go away. And, I'd like to have other things in my life that I guess I'm not as focused on just farming. So
It's like
we have good hunters. Good hunters.
Do you think that within 10 years there won't be any more dairy farms in this area?
Maybe not 10 years, but 20. I don't think there'll be any dairy farms in this area. It's really hard. Just the other day, my dad took a tire. He got a flat tire in a field from one of the tractors, and he took it to the tire store, and they go, well, do you have the tubing? And my dad's like, well, you're the tire store. I thought you'd have the tubing. We don't carry this tubing because there's not many farms in the area anymore. So he had to track down the tubing in a day where he's already running around like crazy and doesn't have any time. And that's just really frustrating for me to watch him do that when there's much more sustainable areas to farm.
Right.
But yeah, so I can't see. My father's very patient, but there's no new farms coming into the area, and it's just very hard to farm around here.
Charlie Johnson, known as Sandy, is Bill Johnson's younger brother. He knows more of the family history.
What's the difference in age?
4 years.
4 years apart.
Yep.
And now you were born on this farm, or?
Well, we were all born in Goshen Hospital.
But I mean, you came
the
home.
old Goshen
The old
Hospital.
Goshen Hospital.
Yes.
That's the one with the pillars?
Yes.
I know the one you mean. On Greenwich.
On Greenwich Avenue.
Yeah.
Yes.
And but you came home. You were brought home to this
To this house.
to this house right
Yes. We both were.
here. And so, what year were you born?
1929.
1929. Now, your farm. I recall there were some visitors that came. Was it from China?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To-
We had Chinese for 20 some odd years.
They would come and
Visit.
and take a look at the way you were farming.
Yeah, they were scholars. They came here for advanced degrees, and a group in New York took them around the country to show them more than just the college they were at.
Right.
And they found they loved to visit a farm, so we hosted them for over 20 years. Give them lunch. It was great. They were all fluent in English.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
I could imagine. Were they simply visiting a farm? They weren't going to be farmers themselves?
Oh,
or?
no. These were all people with degrees, teachers, journalists, TV.
So they're trying to find out about America, a part of American culture.
They were getting advanced degrees in this country.
Interesting.
And then they got them together and showed them Washington and New York. And then they would come here, and we'd give them lunch and show them around.
Because I remember reading about it in the paper.
Yeah, that was the first group. That was many years ago.
I think it made the paper more than once.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
Could be. I don't remember. No, once we had from their West Point, military people.
Mm-hmm.
Once we had from their embassies.
Now, was your farm selected because it was particularly progressive in its equipment or techniques, or
because the first one was a guy in Goshen, and he knew we had just built the barn, so that was known and it was new. And
was it a particular new type of barn or just a new barn?
No, it was a new freestall barn.
New freestall.
Yeah.
One of the things that Bill talked about was bringing some cows. He remembers bringing some cows. I guess they came in on a train to Chester, and they had to move them.
Yeah, well, in 1932, my father tested out for TB.
And what does that mean, tested out?
Well, TB was endemic in the dairy cows in the United States.
Right.
And he tested them all, and the government had a program where they paid you for them, and you got rid of them.
Okay. So,
which he did. And then he went to Wisconsin. He and a cousin, Sealy Rowe, in Gray Corps, and my uncle, Will Board, in Blooming Grove, the three of them went to Wisconsin. And they bought 84 animals that were, TB tested and clean. And they shipped them home on the railroad. That was 1932.
1932.
My father and Sealy Rowe built bunks on the top of the cattle cars and rode them home to make sure they were taken care of. I think it was Cleveland. He said when they slowed up to go into the yards, they counted 87 men riding the rods, getting off the train.
Wow.
Going from city to city, trying to find work.
Looking for work. That's amazing.
And Sealy Rose was down in Gray Court, and they had a portable loading chute, and they unloaded his cows from the railroad car right into his pasture.
Well, that was pretty handy.
Yes. And the Erie followed them out into Wisconsin to make sure they got the business.
That's service.
Times were tough.
Yeah, times were tough.
Yep. And of course, they unload them right downtown at the station. And
right.
drove them home.
In my head, in trying to understand why, I mean, there were literally hundreds and hundreds of farms in Orange County at one time. They were probably originally what we would call subsistence farms, where the families grew their food. They had chickens, they had pigs, they had horses, you name it.
They all had an orchard.
Each one had an orchard. Ultimately, it comes down in the town of Goshen that there are only 2 left. And to me...
2 dairy farms.
2 dairy farms, yeah, 2 dairy farms. There's some other farms, but they're not
That's
dairy.
correct.
That's right. So to me, it seems like, how do you explain that? And I think it has to do with the character and the traits of the people on the farms. Now, maybe you don't agree with this.
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay, this is in my head. This is the way it goes. You have to be, in order to be successful in the field of farming, which is the most competitive of fields. It's dog eat dog, survival of the fittest.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be very independent.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're on your own. You can get some help from your family and your neighbors, but over time, it's number one, it's you.
Absolutely.
Number 2, you have to be smart because it's a business, and it's also a field where you've got all kinds of machinery. So you're also a mechanic because you just can't keep calling mechanics in to repair stuff because the profit margin is such that if you do that, you're out of business.
That's correct.
So you have to have a mechanical ability. You have to have a business ability. You have to be independent. You have to be physically healthy. You have to have good genes because it's physically demanding. So, I mean, we're already up to 4 traits. And if a farmer's missing one of those 4, he probably is one of the ones that didn't make it. That's sort of the way my mind is going.
To a point.
Now, part of it, I guess, has to do with the land, having good land.
That's correct.
But
that's the most important part.
That's the most important. But, of course, you could argue, well, getting good land took, the hard work, the willingness to do the hard work. That's another trait, is to just being willing to knock yourself out every day, 365 days a year, which a lot of people aren't willing to do. They just don't want to work that hard.
No, they don't.
So acquiring good land it takes all kinds of traits. The intelligence, the hard work, the health, the being independent, not going over your head in debt too much because the temptation, all the new machinery, all the new equipment that's out there. There must be thousands of farmers who could not resist spending, getting this or getting that, and ultimately they couldn't pay for it.
Yeah, that happened to some. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So,
but you have to have machinery to work also.
You have to have machinery to work.
You can't hire the labor.
Well, in your view, how do you explain, how do you understand that, certain very few dairy farmers survived and the rest are gone? What was the difference between the ones that made it and the ones that didn't?
Well, I would say smarts is a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Business sense, that's included. Good land makes it a lot easier to farm. That's one thing we don't have here. It'll grow a good crop, but it's not easy to do it. Luck has a certain amount into it.
As far as weather and things like that?
Yeah. In the 60s there was a severe drought. Some guys started just before that and didn't make it. This wet weather is is putting the strain on things. I don't know, you do what you can, that's all. You do what you have to do.
Much of America's wealth and beauty is due to its farms. In Goshen's case, its growth can be attributed in large part to its dairy farms and their families. While so many farms have disappeared, it is easy to see why the Dykeshorn and Johnson farms endured. But with all that said, it appears that what happened to a similar family, the Baxters in New Windsor, will also happen to these two families, where no next generation will be dairy farmers. The process follows an all too familiar pattern. First, the animals and equipment are auctioned. Then, over time, the barns will fall into disrepair and eventually fall down. The large farm homes are too big to heat or maintain and follow the path of the old barns. The fields are sold to developers and are bulldozed, or they go back into second growth. The barbed wire and stone walls fencing in trees rather than cows. Hikers in these woods will stumble on silo foundations and family graveyards. They will stand and ponder the lives of those people who had farmed for generations. What is happening in Goshen is also happening all across America. Unless something is done, the loss of America's family farms will continue.
house in the back, and there was a driveway went around. And all us kids, the Bally's were next door, and we all used to play marbles there. And you'd be so engrossed in playing marbles. He'd come around in behind you, and he'd hit the horn. And I want to tell you, marbles went flying, kids went flying there. Oh my Lord! And everybody used to get just so upset with him because all the things that he did. My Lord!
Oh yeah, but when we lived on South Street, he called my father up and said, "This is Mr. Phillips. This is around in Halloween time." And he said, "Your boys took my front gate off my foot. I'm going in the front yard, and I don't know where they put it. I wish they'd bring it back." I said, "Well, I know it's Halloween and all that." And my father got very upset. He said, "Well, we never touched this fence. We never touched the door. We're not going over there at all." Well, he changed his sentence over there to say, "Mr. Phillips," and apologized for it. And Mr. Phillips said, "I never called you." That was Joe Messenger.
There was a fellow by the name of Del Sayer, and he was caretaker for old Mr. Keynes, who were now the Hall of Fame of the Trotters. Well, Del used to go up and be like a little caretaker, sweep up. And then he'd always come down to the pantry and have his breakfast. And sometimes he'd stay a little long and all, like, or he'd come in a little late and things like that. So this one day, it's cold. My grandfather always came in the back door. And he says, to Footsy Hall. I said, "My God, Footsy," he said, "I never thought old man Kane would be coming up here this time of day." "Oh, I gotta go," Del says. He jumps right up, he grabs a hold of his coat, going to put it on. My grandfather turned the sleeves inside out. Well, you never, I mean, things like this. It went on and on.
I went in the pantry one day, came home from service, I still hadn't been to his own. And I couldn't get the door open. And my grandfather said, "Kick it, it's stuck." And I kicked it. And I broke the knob, and I broke the lock, broke everything. I fixed it how it fit. The door was locked, I should have used the other door. I don't know whether Joe ever paid for it or not. But they, little things like that. I never knew what he was going to say or what he was going to do.
Well, as much as I'd like to keep going here this afternoon, I have to call this to an end because it's almost 3 o'clock. But I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope that you'll come around to do this again with us. I don't know how soon we would do this, and
This
I'd like
was
to get a
fun.
couple more other people that would remember Goshen a little bit. And,
I think if you can get Vince Ruskin, he's got some stories.
You got to get my Uncle Tom Cullen down here.
Okay.
You've
Well,
got to get him
we'll
down here. Isn't that right, Joe?
several guys, all right? We'll
Well,
get several.
that would be something we would ask of you. I'm sure that as we sat here today, somebody popped into your mind and, you know, you thought, boy, they, as Tom said, should have been here. So give us a call. Or if you see Ray on the street, we'll get a...
That's where that's the only place I see Ray.
Yeah.
On the street.
I know. He never comes home anymore. But
maybe in another 6 months.
Maybe
we
in the
might
fall.
In the fall, we would do this again. But before you go, I wanted to give you a little gift for coming here.
I only take cash.
I don't know if you saw
did
this.
you talk about this one?
Did anybody see this map? Do you know what this is? Does anybody know what this is? You should know what this is. It's been in Goshen for
It
since
doesn't have the
1875.
mile track on it.
Well, this is in 1875, Beers Atlas put out the Orange County Atlas. This is the documentation of Goshen, although it says the town of Goshen, it is the village of Goshen as it existed in 1875. This is a reproduction of that. The original map is only about half this size. But recently I had a tenant move into one of my new buildings down here, a state-of-the-art reproduction equipment, and one of the nice things about what he has is he can blow these things up to any size and without losing resolution and detail. And if you take the time to look at this, this is not only a map, but it gives you the names of all the people that were here in 1875. And it's a very interesting piece. And we had one of these made for each one of you, and I want to thank you.
Very much.
And by the way, there are only 12 of these in the world. You have one. You have one.
Wow.
This is the only reproduction of this size in the world right now. So, as of today, you are the only ones in the world that have one.
Thank you very much, Ray. Appreciate it very much.
On
behalf of the Cataract Engineer Hose Company, I'd like to assure you it's been my pleasure to have you here as our guest. Ray is an associate member. I sincerely hope that Ray and Maureen will consider holding the follow-up to this right here as guests of the Cataract. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, this is, oh.
Dick Wallace. Thank you. You're very welcome.
If I knew I was going to get a president, Bob, more prepared. Well, thank you, sir. I find these other things.
I've never seen houses. Yeah, any memorabilia that you find, and if there's some photographs that you can loan me, I can get them now. I can get them.
I don't remember, I remember that house.
You know anybody who preserves glass and
I don't know where it went.
He might be able to do that.
Where did it go?
I mean, he's got some great, really great equipment. These are digital. He actually puts these into machines.
Well, the house that Ken Tucker lives in was down on the street, and when they built they moved that house back. I think that's there was another building behind it that I think was torn down, but I remember how they yes.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, right, I mean, it seems amazing that everything is cracked. There's the foundations gone, but every window in the place would crack, and the walls would be irreparable. But I'm sure he was talking about that one that Ken Schuyler lives in.
Okay. I hope that's
It was
Don't worry about it. I'm so used to it. Thank you, yeah. There's a couple other things.
Well, I'd love to hear whatever anybody has to say. Well,
He does a good job.
Yeah, well, he does. We're going to start this in the
It was very good. You know, we say they can't leave if they're only 9 Yeah, Clarence Fraser. I remember Clarence Fraser. My mother teacher dropped us after summer. Those jeans.
I held a hockey stick next to me and I screwed it in the middle of it.
This is nice because,
yeah.
I don't know, it's all drawn, there's the trolley. We used to be able to go down Hotel Avenue, the bridge, call that Bridge. And there was a junkyard.
There's a lawyer in there now, I don't know.
Well, let's see. We have Flannel Building, the Wilcox.
Unfortunately, he leaves a message.
I would put down any.
For a long time, I liked World War II, which I always thought was hilarious.